There we go. Okay, welcome everybody to Lassoed by Marriage Week 3. Our story this week is called Mule Daze, and we are hopefully going to be talking with Lisa Carter. Right now she's having some technical difficulties, and we had some last week, so we completely understand. So hopefully everyone's read the story and you enjoyed it, and you maybe use this time to prepare some questions for Lisa. And if we can't get her going, we will definitely reschedule this session for next week, and we'll do something else fun this week. So hopefully we've got a connection really soon.
The good news is that Lisa's camera is visible for seeing you all. So this is wonderful. We're going to have Lisa on here hopefully shortly. We are live, and our intention is to bring Miss Lisa Carter to you for her story, Mule Daze. And we're working on that right now. And of course, always there's technical things that can happen. So she's working on getting her camera to show her. So if you'll bear with us 1 second, we'll have her on board. So what I'd like to do right now is have you take a look at your book, The Lassoed by Marriage Romance Collection. And I'd love for you to turn to see if you can get on now through the another tab, and I'm going to work on the game. Okay, Lisa is working on getting on through another tab, and if you'll turn to Mule Daze, Chapter 1, I'm going to show you how the game works, and that way if we get a chance to play next week, it'll be really, really fun. All you have to do is the person who starts reads the first line, and they go around with different books in the order. So you have different books, but you would start with step away from the mule and get your hands in the air. And then the next person who would have a different book or a different chapter open would read the first line of theirs. And so it's a really fun game that you end up with a whole bunch of lines that put the game together as if it is like Mad Libs, like we used to do back in junior high and high school. We used to play Mad Libs. So everybody turn to a different chapter in the book and read the first line of the chapter out loud to one another, and say it loud enough so they can hear on screen. And let's try that one time around. And I'm going to mute myself while we get Lisa on. 1 second.
There's 10, so we're good. So we're who wants to say? Oh yeah. So we just read the first line. Yeah, the first line of a chapter. Okay, John, you want to start? And I'll take. Oh wait, you're one. I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, you're looking up the numbers now. Oh, she already said. Step away from the mule and get your hands in the air.
Braxton brandished the gun toward the sheriff's office. You're going nowhere but jail, crazy bears.
Brax stumbled across the threshold.
Signs of the shadows that light to the jailhouse window. Glaring at her brother, she searched to stride their mouths. Winchesters butted against her shoulder. Brax gave her hand into his arms. Dinner last night had been a rather secret affair after my cousin got there. Although Mama danced around like a fancy rooster when she discovered Mrs. Roberts in the bath, had departed earlier in the day for one of the hotels. I'm not that quick.
Why must everything you do, Harriet, involve the outrageous? During the judging for Grand Championship Mule, Sugarfoot's ballerina coach show.
Charging out of the underbrush, the outlaw bushwhacked Hattie halfway to town. Yeah. So, okay. So she said yes to get some other books right.
So everybody grab a different book. All right? Here, here. Whatever book you have.
No, sorry, don't mess them up.
I was gonna say,
Hi, ladies. Are you here?
Yes.
Okay. There is definitely a computer problem that we need to solve. So we're going to do something like we're going to definitely do the flip-flop and do the game. And let me show you how to do that. Did you manage to get other books and things like that out for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now, as you get the, as you go through, I'm gonna call out a line and a paragraph number. And next, oh, by the way, sorry. Next week we'll have Lisa Carter, and we will solve the computer issue for that one after this is closed out tonight, so that we don't keep dragging on. But we'll do the game. So I have the Lassoed by Marriage Romance Collection book, and I'm going to call out a line, a chapter, or a page number, a line, and then we need you guys to speak up really loud to say it really, really loud so that everybody online can also hear the game. And this is called a string story slam. And what that means is when you tell the whole game, you've basically created an entire story out of the different lines that mishmash together. It works best if you have the same genre of books, but you can do mix and match and things like that. So it's really fun. But it also, when you get to the end of the story, usually you've gone around the ring anywhere 3 to 5 or more times. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to use a little bit of Lisa's story and a little bit of some of the other stories, and we'll see those mishmash together and create something a little more unusual. So I started out by telling you the first line of Mule Daze out of the Lassoed by Marriage Romance Collection. What other books, I'm going to put you on present so you can tell us what other books you all have.
Okay, we've got, I'm just going to have everyone read the title of their book really loud and the author, okay?
Okay.
So I have To Win Her Favor by Tamara Alexander.
Okay.
The Mountain Midwife, Lori Alice Eakes. Blowing on Dandelions by Marilee Farrell.
Nice.
A Worthy Heart by Susan Ann Mason.
Awesome.
Dreaming on Daisies by Marilee Farrell. Undaunted Hope by Jody Hedlund.
Nice.
Counting on a Cowboy by Deborah Clopton.
Oh, those are all fabulous authors. And the fun thing is, I think I know almost every one of them. So they're really neat ladies with a lot of different styles of writing, but they all write historical, right? So yeah. I'm going to start with Lisa, and I'm going to start with chapter 1, the first line, and then exactly the order that we went around the table. We're going to have you call out. Is there anybody in the back? Do you have a book too?
Yeah, and 3 more.
And we have one over here too.
Okay, do you want to come in so we can, or at least yell really loud so we know?
Just come join the party.
Yeah, we're having everyone come around the circle.
It's really fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the first line of the first chapter out of each book, and you'll create this whole beginning scene for the story. Oh, hi, we have new members. Okay, so Lisa's book again, Mule Daze, chapter 1, line 1. And when it comes back to me, we call out a new page number. You're going to turn to that page in your book, and we'll do the same thing round robin with the next line. Okay? Here we go. Step away from the mule and get your hands in the air.
Steady, girl, Maggie whispered, peering down from the bluff, leather reins held taut.
Beth Roberts willed her hands to stop shaking as they gripped the cream-colored envelope. The doorbell rang sometime after midnight.
Catherine Galloway's soft exhales of the dandelions fluffed dancing.
What did he say? The storm dust smoking, moving over the Atlantic, must have garbled his words. There she is, the Statue of Liberty.
Leah Carlson kicked a wicker chair out of her way and stormed off the porch, angrier than she'd been in years.
You're not the new teacher, the bald, round-faced man said again in his childlike voice.
Wake up, Abby! Abby Knightley demanded of herself through a huge yawn.
At that moment, Mother revealed herself from behind the well in the center of the village, her lips pressed tightly together.
Can you see how we created an unusual first scene? Okay, everybody turn to page 41. And we're going to do the second paragraph, first line. Ready?
What?
You remember to speak up really loud toward the microphone. Okay. Her glasses fell from her face and landed on Deckling's faded cover with a wire rattle.
Maggie cringed. She was eager to return home and see to her own father, who promised to rest for the afternoon, but she knew she had no choice.
Wilma waved her hand in the air.
He turned his back to the window and propped one shoulder against the frame, his arms crossed over his chest. So I share no blood with any of you? Felt like wilting at the biting tone and withering glance.
Once he was through the gate, he slowed down the horses again.
The end doesn't bring me much comfort either. I think for now it would be best if you slept in the barn.
She stepped outside and drew her heavy woolen shawl close around her shoulders, knotting it across her chest.
His feet picked up speed around the last step, and then he was in the clearing.
Pop's got a confused look in his eyes, that Bo had gotten used to seeing so much lately.
The young maiden, Rapunzel, walked along beside him, talking to him ever so often.
Okay, turn to page 67, and we're going to read the last line on the page.
What page?
67.
67.
And remember to enunciate on the camera. Okay, here we go. They say you're going to swoop in and be about with the poor widower's emotions and then leave.
Maggie bowed her head and sneaked to look his way, only to see his hand ball tightly into a fist at his side, his knuckles white.
Ooh, that fit really well.
Why do you insist on keeping it a secret? Mr. Tucker would probably appreciate what you've done.
Every one of them were related to her somewhere on the family tree.
He cared for Catherine and their daughters with the tenderness that Francis had only experienced years ago with Beth.
Get out, was that grandfather? What was he doing here in California?
Come on, Nate. Jonathan locked his hands behind his head. But It's a story for another time. He reached for a hammer and pried the two short boards off the top, trying to steady his shaking hands. But some days, after a particularly stormy night like last night, he overslept. Brick walkways crisscrossed the grassy area and met at the old-fashioned white wooden gazebo surrounded by overflowing flower beds.
Only to pray for all people and to live a peaceful life in godliness and holiness.
We're going to turn to the last line in your book, and I'll read mine, and then we'll come back around and finish. Make sure you speak up real loud. Feeling safe and loved, Molly sent a silent thank you to God for blessing her with a husband who knew his laws and upheld them in the same way she did.
Maggie lay in the crook of his arm, her pulse slowly finding its rhythm again, and she realized, no, she knew that no matter who came and went in her life, this man, this child God had given her, they were her home, and always would be.
She waited for this man all her life, a man who looked beyond the scars of the past, a man who had shown a steadfast love and helped her to trust again, and she would never let this man go.
She laughed and started to say she loved him too, but he was already kissing her.
She lifted her chin. Never would she make that mistake again.
Forward to every moment.
And tonight and forever, without her in his arms. With Maggie by his side, he would continue to build the O'Leary legacy and create a most worthy heritage, one that would make his family and his God very proud indeed. She knew problems would come in the future, but with God and Stephen by her side, as well as Pa, Tom, and apparently Francis too, she could face the future with strength and peace, knowing that love would conquer anything life might bring. Since there weren't any guarantees, she would love and enjoy Alex with every heartbeat, every moment of their lives.
Always and forever, she said with a sigh, and held on to Bo with all her might.
And in spite of the evil that had been done to them, God had restored their hope and their faith and love.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah. And what can be really fun is that when we go off camera, and now that you kind of learned that game, you can add a few more things into it. So you can add wild cards, which means if you end up on a blank page, then you can flip to any page or the page before in order to read a different line. Or because you hear the lines that are coming before you and you happen to be scanning your page, if you see a funnier line that would dovetail in with it, you can do that one too. So it's like wild cards. So there's a lot of ways to now take this and spice it up. So it's a really fun thing to do, you know, within your group. And like you see, when you have these different storyline or stories, but they're in the same genre, it kind of keeps the story flowing, even if the names change or the action changes. So what do you think?
It was fun.
And it gives you a chance to meet different authors through the different books that they have. So what I'd like to suggest that you do tonight is enjoy discussing Lisa's book, definitely, and we'll visit with her next week once we get the computer things figured out. But also, I'd like you to try this on your own. You choose a leader. That leader is always picking the next page as it comes around to them again, and then throw the wild cards in. If you end up with a blank page, you can go anywhere you want in the book. And if you end up with a funnier line, you can throw out a wild card and just make it a lot of fun. So I hope that that's something that makes it really fun for you. Are you enjoying doing this book club with the authors?
Yes.
Yes.
I do. I'm so glad. I know we're going to have a daytime book club starting with a store in Pueblo on February 17th. And we're going to do this again for several weeks in a row at 11 o'clock Mountain, which I think for you guys is like noon on Wednesday. And that'll be a really fun thing to do as well. But as always, you know, we are dealing with technology, and that is the thing in the world. So we all keep learning and growing as we go. But I really hope that being able to hold the books in your hands, being able to flip through the different lines makes the game a lot of fun. If you had a chance to do something different with that game, what would you do to add an idea to the rules?
Anybody? We got no ideas. We're enjoying watching your kitty cat, though.
Oh, I didn't even know he was back there.
Is that Muse?
That's Muse. Yeah, and he's quite a character.
I can tell.
I had this sitting there like that, and then I snapped some pictures of him, and it's. I'm gonna have to put up a new Facebook thing, a new Facebook. What do they call those? Cover photo. Yeah. Because now I've got him helping me promote Lassoed by Marriage, right? Huh?
Good job, Muse.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention too about Lisa's book is she uses a lot of humor in it, and it was really fun. And I live in Montana, so it was kind of comical for me to be reading a story about, you know, characters in Montana while I was reading Lisa's story. And it was a lot of fun. I'm starting on Mary Keneally's story now, so I'll be able to tell you a little bit about that one as well. She used some past characters that she brought into the story world because she'd had a lot of fan mail from people that wanted to know what happened with those secondary characters. And so when you get to Mary Keneally's story, that was the one we were going to do this game with. And so it's going to be a really fun one where you start to find out what happens to characters from past books that people really wanted to know who they were and what happened and why and what was their love story. And so that one's a really fun one coming up. Mary Keneally won't be able to be with us because she actually does own cattle, and it's calving season. And so they're in the middle of sitting on the fence post watching for cows to have babies and that kind of a thing. So she had to back out because they started calving. But with Lisa, her story is so cute because I think, tell me first of all, before I tell you what my favorite part was, tell me what your favorite part of Lisa's story was. Mule Daze.
The fact that her brothers ended up coming and staying and finding wives.
Yeah, that was good. That was really cute.
That was really cute. My favorite was definitely, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but definitely when the iron bars clinked behind the hero. I was like, oh yeah, that is so great. I really enjoyed that part. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Can I ask you, well, does anybody else have anything from this book, their favorite part? Like this story?
What would you say?
No? Does
Your
anybody else?
Oh, when all the brothers became the deputies.
Yeah, that was
The family was a cinch.
That was definitely cute.
I had someone ask me a question yesterday in the bookstore about this collection, and you could answer it probably for us. How did the idea for this collection come about? And were each of these authors approached to write a story for this topic, or how did that all happen?
Oh, that's a really great question. There's a lot of times when the authors, like 3 or 4 of us, will get together and say, oh, we have this great idea and we want to write this idea. And then we actually have that happening with the one that comes out next year, where I think almost all of us in the collection were brainstorming and said, hey, you want in on this? And then we submitted a proposal. In the case of Lassoed by Marriage, Barbara had gotten a lot of really good ideas on a lot of different proposals, which spurred their team to come up with an idea, and they sent out through our agent. And our agent is Lisa Carter, and I share the same agent, is Tamara Hancock Murray, and she's absolutely an adorable gal. But if she sent out an email and said, hey, we need some stories for this collection for love that happens after the I do. And so that's how this story started to come together. And there were several of us that had really great ideas. And the fun part of it was that some of us knew each other and a few of us were new. And so, let's see, to my knowledge, Angela Bell and Rebecca Jepson, these gals this is their first time being published. And I knew Mary Keneally, Lisa Carter. I had met or knew of through email and stuff, Amy Lillard. I know Gina Wellborn very, very well, and I knew Kathleen Ibarbo very well from past conferences. Rose Ross Zedeker was a brand new name to me. And I think she's been published before, but we hadn't met. So what's really fun about these collections is not, just who comes up with the idea and how they come to be. They're all different, but also becoming sister authors together. And in the background, every now and again, there's conversation or ideas that are being tossed back and forth and brainstormed. And I know Gina and I have actually brainstormed 3 or 4 different ideas together. So it's really fun. And Lisa and I have been at either conferences, or I have a memory of a dinner we were at together, a small dinner with Tamala, if I remember right, and things like this. So it's really fun. But this particular idea, if I'm correct, came out of a brainstorming session from Barbara's side. And if it came from another author, I don't know that. But then the email went out through our agents to each one of us asking if we had something that we'd like to contribute. Long story short.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting to hear how, this is definitely a different kind of a book, but just to hear how that process works a little bit, because it's kind of foreign to us. We just see the finished product, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of different times where we'll get together, we'll brainstorm, we'll write we'll write the synopsis, which is, the general story idea of our book to fit a topic, and then put them all in a proposal together and send those in to the editor. And sometimes that will come to fruition very quickly. And sometimes it'll sit on the editor's desk for 2, 3, 4, 5 years while we're on writing something else. And a few of us have had that happen where we may be here 2 years later and the story proposal that went in as a group with all of us together comes back. And we're sitting there going, do you remember that story? No, do you remember that story? I had that happen one time, and I had to email my agent, Tamala, and say, could you please email me what I emailed you? I can't find it anywhere, and I've changed computers since then. So she did, thank goodness, and I was able to write the book, but I had no idea what story they were even talking about with that one.
Because you have so many other things going on at the same time. Yeah. I don't know how you do that either.
Yeah. Now, Lisa was telling me she lives out in North Carolina area, and I was racing home because I was away for the day and I had to get home for this. And I was telling her, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get you on, and of course computers, and it didn't work. But I told her I was racing home through a snowstorm in in rush hour traffic. And she says, well, I won't tell you how nice a day it is here then. And I thought, well, that's so not fair. But, you never know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be, bad weather or, technical issues or anything like that. And I think that translates to our stories, because life is not easy. And for our characters and for these stories to come into being, we have to make it hard on our characters too. And I know a lot of us actually draw on real world experience, or at least the emotion of that real world experience, for how you put that emotion into words. So I think one question we're going to have to remember to ask Lisa for next week is where she got the idea for Mule Daze, because I haven't been able to ask her that yet. And it's so cute. And she has some things that are, very Montana, which would be the old frontier jail and huckleberry pie and things like that. And one of the things that I noticed was that the character, her heroine was making or getting a huckleberry pie in March. And the thing that was really fun for me is the only way you can make a huckleberry pie in March is from preserves. And so to me, it was really fun to read about that, because I remember freezing and putting up huckleberries to be able to make these pies and to make these things later. But what a lot of people don't know about huckleberries is that they're very expensive because they're very tiny. They're kind of like, they look like blueberries, but they're about half the size. And right off the bush, they have a very warm and smoky and sweet taste. But as soon as they're off the bush for a few minutes, or they've been frozen, they get really sour. And so those huckleberry preserves, and those frozen huckleberries to make a huckleberry pie, it's crucial that you have the right balance of sugar to have a really good huckleberry pie. And out here in Montana, huckleberry is big stuff. We have huckleberry ice cream, huckleberry shakes. We have huckleberry conserve put over steaks. We have huckleberry pie, huckleberry pancakes. I mean, huckleberry everything. And so to see that in Lisa's story and knowing that they had to come from preserves, I was like, yes, this is so Montana. It was, really well done and really fun. But the one time, if I could tell her anything, and I hope she can see this, but we'll have to make sure I mention it. But I tried to make a huckleberry pie for my first time when I first moved here to Montana 22 years ago. And I did not understand the balance of sugar to huckleberries. And I accidentally put in too much. And I overboiled my huckleberry pie all over my oven and started it on fire. So there was, yeah. So reading her story, reading that one brought back all those really kind of fun memories. And especially, it's hard to find huckleberries if you don't know where to look, especially the memory of huckleberry hunting with my kids and picking them off the bush to eat them and like that. So that was a fun part of just real Montana that I found in Lisa's book.
Go ahead.
Has anybody else been to Montana?
I have.
Yeah?
We have some friends that used to live there, and we visited just one time. They lived in Libby.
Oh, yeah.
Is that close to, where did you say you are?
I'm in Missoula, and Libby is about 3.5, 4 hours north. And Libby is a gorgeous area. And right now, it's doing this big, huge cleanup because several years ago, there was a lot of asbestos that got through a lot of problems that they have with asbestos. And so in Libby, even though how gorgeous it is, there's a problem with people needing to get medical care from asbestos poisoning. And having been to Libby as well, that was a scary thing. But they said you needed to live there for over 6 months for it to be something that would be difficulty for you. So thank goodness, because we just visited there too. But Libby now they're all cleaned up and things are beautiful. But Libby has a wonderful Scandinavian festival. And since I'm Swedish, that was a really fun thing to go do. And I would definitely go back and do that again. But I don't want the Ludefest. I've never liked it.
What was that? We missed that part.
I don't want the lutefisk, even at the Scandinavian Festival, because lutefisk is it's a fish that has been preserved in for months in lye. Yeah, the stuff you make soap with. And that was how they survived in Sweden for so long, was to eat lutefisk.
How can that even be good for you?
I don't know. But that's a real Christmas treat, supposedly, and not for me, thank you.
One thing I noticed, I mean, this is the third story, and I haven't read the rest of them, obviously, but at some point in all of the stories so far, the theme was, you know, the female, you know, lead feels like unloved and unwanted. So, I mean, I don't know if that lends itself to this, the whole theme of the, you know, falling in love after marriage, but I'm just wondering if the rest of the stories will have that same theme, and if that's just so common amongst women that, you know, we tend to feel unloved and unwanted.
Wow, is that ever a great question? Because I've only read 3 of the books too. So I'm curious about that same question now, and I hadn't thought of that before you brought that out. I know in the case of my grandmother in Bridal Whispers, the earlier novella that y'all read, that was a true reality for her. And so I think that being true to the characters that were in my story, that's why I wanted to do that one. But I agree with you. I think it is a universal issue for women. So it would be very interesting as we go through the stories. I'm starting Mary Keneally's. I'm actually reading right along with you guys. I'm trying to stay like 1 week ahead, so I know the stories, you know, coming up. So I'll be reading this one this week as I'm traveling over to Pennsylvania for the month's Christian Product Expo, and this will be my on the plane reading to catch up and know that. So I'm now fascinated to find out if that is a theme throughout these stories as well. And I wonder too, as a reader, I know I'm an author of the one, but as a reader, I'm curious if it's because of the after marriage, you know, situation where they weren't wanted in the first place in marriage, if that theme lends to it. So that'll be a great discovery as we continue through the book. Hold that thought till we get to novella 9.
We will. I wrote it down.
What other thoughts or questions do you guys have?
I think they're sleepy tonight. I don't know. I don't know. I think everybody maybe is starting to have spring fever. But I had some other questions for Lisa, but I kind of wanted to save them for next week.
I completely agree. And since we've kind of got this game down and under your belts, I would love to release you to play it again amongst yourselves and add in those parts of it. So I would love to hear afterwards, you know, send me an email, send me a note, something to let me know what you liked about the game and if you added any new rules to it, because it is a really fun book club game, and you can change genres, you can play with it in any way you want, but you do need one leader who calls out the page, paragraph, and line number, and then at the end of it, you need to decide how many go-rounds you're going to have before you end the game, if you know when it's going to end. One other thing that's very helpful is know what the last page number is in each book, because if you're calling out 362 and everybody else's book ends at 165, so that's another really good part of it. I will look through the rules for the game and I'll email them over to you so that you can take that into the future as well. Do you feel confident playing the game?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and I appreciate you guys having us and being patient with computer issues. They just will never go away. Just like having to watch my calories never goes away. So we'll get that solved and settled for you. And I hope that you guys have a really great night. Thank you.
Thank you. You too, Angie.
Thanks. Bye-bye.